you. I'm more than glad to answer any questions that you have, take any comments from you. Like I said, I'm just extremely grateful that you listening to me at all. So thank you very, very much.
My question for you is, should you be the nominee, which I hope you are, how would you approach that debate with Donald Trump if he survives this mess going on right now? And what would you say to him?
First of all, I want to talk about how I would approach Donald Trump, period. I don't think the American people need me to tell them who Donald Trump is. I think everybody knows who he is. I saw one of the candidates, I saw a TV ad where he said, I'm going to prove he's a fraud and a liar. And I thought to myself, to who? Who doesn't know? I mean, everybody knows who he is. Some people, even who support him, know he's a fraud and a liar, but will say things like, yeah, but we like what he's doing. So you've got two groups of people. Well, you've got more than two. You've got one group of people who are going to vote for Donald Trump no matter what. This is a free country. They get to do that. Fine. No need to waste your time on it. There's another group of people who are so horrified by his agenda, they're going to vote for the Democrat no matter what. Fine. You don't even worry about that. The problem we have is that those two groups are too close in number for comfort. What we have to think about are the millions of people who did not vote last time, who are not going to respond well to same old, because if they were going to go with same old, they would have voted last time. We already did same old. And we've got millions of people, I believe, who did vote for Trump, but they're disturbed. But if we go on and on with how terrible Donald Trump is, they feel scolded, they feel shamed. That will not make them want to vote for us. Last time, the emotional tenor of the moment was rage. And the only two people who named that rage were Bernie and Trump. Somebody not naming that rage, I was worried about it. Because people want to feel seen, people want to feel heard, and people had a reason to be angry. Right? This time, this year, I believe, the emotional tenor of this moment is exhaustion. I don't think people want to go into another year of just fighting and beating up. People tune out. So, one of the things that all of us should have figured out by now, those debates are nothing but a reality TV show. That's all that's going on. That's all, it's a reality TV show. And so in the debates, I would seek to tell the truth, but to get down and try to react to him, the man's personality, anybody who knows anything, it's pretty basic psychology. The last thing you do is allow him to invade you. You know, Ronald Reagan was very brilliant with that. When he would try to punch at him, and you know what he'd always say? There they go again. I was at one press conference not too long ago, and somebody asked me about Trump, and I made some comment like, oh, poor darling, he just can't help himself. Don't go there. There's no point. People want to hear, and I've had people, because I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, I'm Republican, I would vote for you. I'm conservative, I would vote for you. A lot. One gentleman came up to me, one man that was really, this is what he said to me. He came up to me at an airport in San Jose, California. He introduced himself as an evangelical minister from somewhere outside Indianapolis, Indiana. And he said, Ms. Williamson, I just want you to know we're very aware of you. We're really watching you. He said, I'm a big fan. We really understand you're the one talking about those 93 million near poverty people. You're the one who's talking about hunger. You're the one who's talking about those hungry children, Ms. Williamson, and we're watching you. And then he said something interesting. He said, you know, last time we just didn't feel we had a choice, Ms. Williamson. You know, the elitism, we just couldn't go with that. I thought that was very interesting. So I don't think this is a time to talk about how he's so bad or anything like that. People are smart. I think that's the biggest problem I have with the political establishment. They talk to us like we're stupid. They talk, and that's really part strategy. They think their political operatives say, talk to people like they're at the level of being 14 years old. Now, this is what my experience has been in my 35-year career. Number one, people are not stupid, people are smart. And number two, when people undergo a crisis, they get smarter than ever. So, you have a doctor, and the doctor says the test results came back, and they're not good, it's cancer. All these ultimately unimportant preoccupations fall away within the first 10 minutes. and you're very focused, and you're listening to what the doctor has to say. And you expect the doctor to be honest with you. But our politicians are thinking, not how am I going to be honest with you, but rather, how am I going to get your vote? So what do you need? What do I need to say to you to get your vote? What do I need to say to you to get your vote? What do I need to say to you to get your vote? What do I need to say to you to get your vote? I'm not doing that. That's not why I'm here. I'm saying these are things which I believe that as Americans we need to look at. And that's a whole different conversation. We are in a crisis now that we can totally get through. We can have a 21st century that's the most brilliant light, the most brilliant chapter that America has ever had. But not by denying what's happening. Not by pushing it under the rug. Not by having a false, superficial conversation that everybody knows doesn't really get to the heart of the matter. We should not be afraid of radical truth-telling right now. We should be afraid of not having radical truth-telling right now. So, Donald Trump, God bless him, may we make him irrelevant and retired as soon as possible. We have the future of our country to discuss. People who can't stand him are going to vote for the Democrat anyway. Why go there? That's how I feel. Yes?
I think that you mentioned about the debate
Yes.
and being, so it was a good thing on their part that you weren't in that debate because of what you talked about. And I agree with what you said. Like, it is kind of a
Put
reality.
the mic closer to you.
I think it is true that it is kind of a reality show. I watched portions of it last night myself, and you don't really learn anything new from it. You get like a few funny one-liners here and there, which, they're amusing, but you don't really get anywhere, especially with how little time they have to talk. So I was wondering, would you be able to do any kind of like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, some of the others have done like town halls?
Yes, and I do.
Do you do town halls?
Well, I did a CNN town hall.
Okay.
I did a CNN town hall, and this is a town hall. I mean, this is what you do. You get in front of voters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But are you able? I was thinking it'd be really great if you were able to do more like the town halls, more like that.
Okay, so let me tell you how it works.
Okay.
It's a campaign industrial complex. So it's not just the DNC. First of all, this whole thing of the polls and all of that to limit the number of people. The only people who should be limiting the candidates are you. And the people in New Hampshire, the people in South Carolina, and the people in Nevada. That's what elections are for. That's what primaries are for. The DNC is not a governmental institution. It is not connected in any official capacity to our electoral process. It's a private corporation. So the idea of didn't we go through this car crash last time? Didn't we see this movie? Wouldn't we have been better off? I was a Bernie supporter. I certainly went to Hillary once the primaries were over. But what if we just let democracy happen? If we just let democracy happen, either Hillary would have won the primaries or Bernie would have won the primaries, but we would have all felt good about it. And I believe Donald Trump would not be president today. And now they're doing the same thing, but this time, okay, it can be one of these five. We'll let them in and we'll let them actually talk. So, it's the same car crash. Now, they are in cahoots then with mainstream corporate media, because it's not only who gets to be on it, but then the absurd nature of the questioning. It's not the candidate's fault. But like I said, look at what they don't ask about so many things. The things they don't even ask about. And when I brought those things up, then of course they came after me with the false narrative about Crystal woo-woo lady and all that stuff they said about me, which we're laughing about, but you know that that's what just made everything tank and everybody's in the camp for her because she's a nutcase. I'm a serious woman. I've written serious books and I've had a serious career. But then you have the mainstream media, because that's all that those debates are. It's kind of like when you see ads for boxing. Is it Biden versus Warren? Watch Thursday night. It's ridiculous. But then it gets worse than that. LGBTQ forum, J Street forum, climate forum, where they would say to people like me, well, and in the case of J Street, I was invited and then the invite was rescinded, where they say, well, we're not going to be at that forum because you're not on the debate stage. And we're like, whoa, what does my being on the debate stage have to do with it? So they're all in cahoots. So then these forums don't have you. And then you have the mainstream media using the word long shot before your name every time they mention you. And after a while, the narrative just permeates the ethers. And that's how America runs today. But there's one force that can stop that. And that's the voters of Iowa. Because there are voters everywhere just kind of waiting if you just give permission. So it's very interesting. So then I'm cut out, so then you haven't seen me, so you think I'm not running. But that's how the game operates. I'm running, as long as I have the money to continue. But I don't have the money, so you see how everything affects everything. Who's next?
Your book, Return to Love, was one of the first transformational books I ever read, and it changed my life. Thank you. And I want to thank you for being here and running, and that this campaign is a return to love.
Thank you.
And so tied to morality, but also fear. And so many people are motivated by the fear and the fear mongering. And you mentioned the evangelicals, and it just doesn't make sense to me that they're not getting behind you.
Well, I think they just might. I think many would. But many people in this country perceive the Democratic Party as having an anti-faith bias. Now, I'm not saying there aren't many Democrats who are prayerful, etc. But I know what I've received. That's been part of the mockery of me. That's been part of the marginalization of me. People don't like to feel looked down on. And there has been, and I don't know how this happened, the party of Martin Luther King, the party of the Baptist preacher, the party of Bobby Kennedy talking about the soul of America. But over the last few decades, the Democratic Party has become so overly corporatized and secularized in its language that that sometimes people, and I feel that this happens with me. I mean, they've found quotes in books where I've said, pray over your illness, and then they say, she's telling people not to go to the doctor. No, I'm not. Now, meanwhile, this is very, very serious stuff. So you talked about fear. We need to be, and I know we all are, I haven't told you anything tonight you don't already know. Everybody knows this stuff. It's just that we need to own what we know now. So we have a situation with racists and bigots and anti-Semites and homophobes and very fear-based thinking that has become very politicized. These people are on the march and they're convicted. We need to be as convicted behind our love as some people are convicted behind their fear. And nobody doubts how powerful fear is and hatred is as a motivator of political expression. Why should we doubt how powerful love is as a motivator and an inspirer of political expression? We love those children. That's why we're going to rescue them. We love the earth. That's why we're going to repair it. We love other people on this planet. That's why we're going to try to seek an agenda for peace creation as well as military preparedness. We love our country. We love each other. That's why we want to make right historical wrongs. Love is not for stupid people. Love is not silly. And if you look at Mahatma Gandhi and the philosophy of nonviolence, and you look at Martin Luther King and the philosophy of nonviolence behind the civil rights movement, all we're talking about here is stuff that Martin Luther King talked about, that Mahatma Gandhi talked about. We can do for the country what you feel that book did for you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
You are a force to reckon with, and I'm so glad that you're still out there doing it. And would you just say, you're kind of going all over the United States, so you have a sense of the way you're being responded to in the different areas of the nation. Could you say briefly your positive experiences with that and what the energy is like when you're traveling across the United States?
This experience has made me feel that the system is even more corrupt than I feared in all the ways we talked about. But the people of the United States are even more wonderful than I knew. We're good people. We're a very decent people. The problem is not that the average American is not a decent person. The problem is that the inquiry into what makes us good has been limited too often to the purview of the private self. So I'm sure everybody in this room has at some point or another said to another person, do you think I did the right thing? Do you think that was the right thing to do? But we're not asking that enough about, do you think what the government did was right? When we sold, for the sake of $360 billion in arms sale to that murderous dictator crown prince in Saudi Arabia, we are now giving aerial support to a genocidal war. Genocide, ladies and gentlemen, this would make our grandparents roll over in their graves. Tens of thousands of people in Yemen have starved, including many children. And we're not even discussing it. See, when I was a child, and some of us are old enough to remember this, there was something called the My Lai Massacre. It was during the Vietnam War, and it was American military that massacred this village of Vietnamese people. The whole country knew to be ashamed. There's such thing as healthy shame. So I'm not saying America was beyond having had that happen, but we were beyond ignoring it. We collectively held our head in shame. So what I feel is that the American people are good, but this divergence, this gap between our goodness and the way our government now behaves because it is following the dictates of a corporate worldview untethered to conscience or ethical or moral consideration is a breach that is critically dangerous. And I believe that democracy doesn't just give us rights, I think it gives us responsibilities. And in my mind, it's now the task of this generation to rise to the occasion and to close that gap. The abolitionists did it, the women's suffragettes did it, civil rights movement did it, and it's our time. Thank you very much.